Everybody has a sad story, and either you're gonna have a sad story and be broke, or make something shake, stop feeling bad for yourself, and go get some money. Hey girls and gays, today we're doing the long-awaited sit down, very vulnerable chit chat, get ready with me as far as a life update goes, because it's been a while. I have done a few get ready with me's and I've hinted at certain things, but it is so very clear that so many things have changed in my life from the last time we did an actual sit down get ready with me. In this video in particular, we are going to be discussing various topics like me moving, me falling out of love with a career path that I thought I was in love with, heavy on thoughts, while also discussing what is next for my career and what exactly is my new career path, while also juggling content creation. We're also briefly getting into my most recent procedure. I love to do my makeup. Y'all love to sit and watch me do my makeup while also being in my business. So it only made sense for us to sit down and catch up, because what's really been tea? But with that being said, I'm not gonna sit here and give y'all this long introduction. We're gonna go ahead and jump right on into this video. But first, I have to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, which is going to be Evie.
So you're probably asking, what is Evie? Evie is a brand that is on a mission to close the gender gap, starting with precision healthcare for the vaginal microbiome. For many decades, many vaginal health concerns have been understudied and under-researched, or are just simply prescribed antibiotics without ever really getting clear answers on why or how certain symptoms just seem to persist. That is exactly where Evie comes in, because they give people access to the most advanced vaginal microbiome testing possibly available. And it's paired with personalized, clinical, reviewed next steps with precision care, all from the comfort of your own home. When I received the Evie kit, I was actually so excited, because at the beginning of this year, I made it very clear that this is a year of self-care. The Evie kit is super easy. They shipped the kit off to me, I received within about 2 to 3 days. When I finally did receive it, inside was a few items that did require me to do an internal swab, and then from there I packaged it up very safely and I shipped them back off to the lab. Honestly, I wasn't shocked at my results, because overall this year I have been doing a really good job of taking care of myself. All of my results were relatively normal. This brand gives you the opportunity to run over 700 vaginal health tests, including bacteria and fungi that might possibly be associated with UTIs, microbiomes, and so many more. And most importantly, unlike most traditional office tests that typically only look for a handful of microbes, Evie analyzes the entire vaginal ecosystem, including both disruptive and protective bacteria, providing a more clear yet complete picture of what is actually going on inside of your body. And if you're eligible, an Evie affiliated licensed clinician will review your microbiome results and health history to create a custom RX treatment program. If you're interested in learning more about your vaginal microbiome, make sure you click out my link that'll be featured in the description bar down below, and use my code so that you'll be able to get 10% off your first ever purchase with Evie. And once again, I'd like to thank Evie for sponsoring today's video.
I feel like there are so many elephants in this room that have not been addressed, because I personally was just waiting on the right moment to kind of share a lot of these things, or to even, for those of y'all that don't know, I do have a dog. I have a Frenchie, to be exact. That's my baby. But it's like she knows when I'm about to start filming, because I swear she did not have a care in the world about that ball until I got started filming this video. Now all of a sudden y'all hear the squeaks in the background from the ball. Let's really just pick up where I feel like we left off at, because I feel like throughout this past year and a half, when I moved to Kansas City, that is when we, and by we I say me as the YouTuber and you guys as the consumers of my content, aka my support system, I feel like there was a bit of a disconnect. And I know where the disconnect came from. The disconnect came from myself. It definitely was very much self-inflicted, because around that time I was going through a lot, you know? And when I was going through a lot, I developed this sense of self-isolation as a form of, I guess you could say, a healing mechanism. With that healing mechanism, I had slowly but surely learned that it was not healthy. But in the meantime, as I was learning, there still was a disconnect between me and my audience. I mean, it's clear as day. I've always been a private person, but private to what extent? When you go from sharing your career goals or your traveling moments, once you start to shut your audience out from those things and the only content that you're producing is pretty much within your own home, you're not taking your audience anywhere, it kind of becomes one of those things where now we're starting to build that disconnect because you're not letting your support system in on the things that you're doing outside of your home. That is exactly what I was doing. Around that time when I moved to Kansas City, I just got out of a relationship with my second and last boyfriend. And so I was learning how to navigate that while also battling my own mental health issues that ultimately stimulated from a plethora of things. One of those things being that I felt like I was falling out of love with the career path that I was going down, which was dentistry. But on top of all of that, I felt like I kind of lost this sense of self because part of me was really torn between sticking it out with dentistry because that's something that I built my platform around. Because if you've been here for a while, then you know that my 8th grade year of school, I became so infatuated with the line of orthodontics, for those of you guys that aren't too acclimated with that term. For a very long time, I had thought that I wanted to work within the dentistry realm of things. And so for a while, that is, oh girl, I need to go back in with some more edge control because my brows are not laying how I would like for them to. Anyone that's watched my content will tell you how much I was in love with the field. And so with that being such a major key factor in my life, I felt like I had to stick with that route. I had to stay within that field no matter what it was because that's what people know me for. When I first started working in the dentistry field, I was a standard dental assistant and I enjoyed it for quite some time. I worked within private practices, I worked within corporate practices. I have my fair share of both. One is definitely more so complex than the other, but the advantage that I would say I had when it came to working within the corporate side of dentistry, I had the opportunity to cross-train as a dental lab technician. Now, a dental lab technician is definitely a step up from being a dental assistant. As a dental assistant, you take on the role of multiple different things, and I feel like it just is not worth the money and the hard labor. It's just not worth it. That is exactly why cross-training was something that I was really interested in, because not only was I going to be doing something different, but I was going to be making big girl money. That was my first ever salaried job position. When I got the offer to cross-train at this corporate office, I was already having kind of just doubts of actually enjoying my job at that point in time. It was like, do I even really like this space anymore? Am I happy at this space? Am I happy doing the bare minimum? No, not the bare minimum. Am I happy for doing this much labor for the bare minimum? Long story short, no, I was not comfortable with that. Honestly, I was not. I wasn't satisfied with it. And I know people say that money is not everything, but one thing about me, I am a realist. And 18-year-old, 19-year-old me would say, yeah, like I don't mind being a dental assistant for like the next 10, 15 years. Like I don't mind that. But 23-year-old Aaliyah, hell, not even just 23-year-old Aaliyah. I came to that conclusion when I was 22. I was like, 22-year-old Aaliyah cannot live the life that she actually wants to live off a dental assistant salary. No matter where you work, no matter what specialty you're in, it's just not possible. Now, it is very possible for some people to survive off of that income. However, the lifestyle that I see for myself, absolutely not. When I was 18, 19, I seen myself living very comfortably. Like I don't mind living in the country and X, Y, and Z. But 22-year-old Aaliyah realized, actually, yeah, no. That's not what I want for my life. I want so much more for myself.
And I want to preface by saying this is all subjective because I know a few hygienists, lab technicians, and assistants that are able to live comfortably, to each its own. But the money that I've been able to accumulate with YouTube, it's only right that my career of choice is making similar, if not more money than what I'm already making, because I've already obtained a certain lifestyle. And as I stated, I'm not willing to downgrade that that for the sake of a career. When I'm looking into a career that I don't mind doing for the rest of my life, I'm thinking for my future. I'm thinking for Aaliyah when she is 35 and up. I'm not going to be in my 40s still posting vlogs on YouTube. That's just not logistic and ideal for the life that I see for myself, which is exactly why I have to pick a career that I enjoy, but is also worth the pay.
Once I came to that conclusion, I kind of felt like it was the beginning of the end. That was one of the reasons why I was literally so excited to become a dental lab technician, because I'm like, okay, you know what? This is a better position. I'm getting paid more and I'm not having to slave on my feet all day for a practice while making the bare minimum, opposed to how I was when I was a dental assistant. However, I slowly but surely realized, even as a lab technician, I'm still not happy within this field. I don't enjoy doing this anymore. For a very long time, I found myself sticking it out because, for one, if you want to be very honest, I was so nervous of changing career paths because I was scared of what my audience was going to perceive for changing career paths. On top of the judgment that I felt like I was going to face from my audience, I also felt the pressure from my parents. What were my parents going to think if I wanted to change career paths? I have always been career driven. I've also always said that YouTube and social media is not the end all be all. Me having this platform, I am so blessed. I'm so grateful. But the whole purpose of me having this platform is to really just document my life and to show the real and show the vulnerable moments of what it's like to figure out your life when you don't have all the answers. And I know to some that might seem like, oh my gosh, why would you not want to tell us? When you are someone like myself that has been judged on the internet for years, especially as a child, I don't think some people understand how that mentally can take a toll on someone. That is one of the biggest reasons why a lot of creators develop people-pleasing tendencies, because a lot of them fall trope to people-pleasing when it comes to their audiences. They will do things and settle for certain lifestyles because they are scared of switching things up. They're scared of the possible backlash that they might get from their audience. I definitely fell victim to that at one point in time, and that was one of the main reasons why I continued to try to stick it out and, just try to continue on with working within the field until it just really got to a point where it felt like I was at my lowest. It felt like I was at my wit's end, and I knew that I was no longer happy doing what I was doing for so many reasons, but for the biggest reason just being that my heart just simply was not in it. After months of ducking and dodging the hard conversations with my mom, because of course as a mother they're going to ask you about your career and how it's going. Mine will, at least. She's a very proactive parent. She is always in my business. So when we would be having conversations and she'd be asking me about dentistry, the conversations were very brief and pretty much just very vague. And one thing about my mom, she could always tell when something's wrong or if I'm hiding something. I don't know how, I don't know why, but it's just like her spidey senses are always tingling. We just ended up having a tough conversation about me basically no longer being in love with the field. And once I had that conversation with her, it was so relieving for me, because I feel like I'm one of those people, if I get the say so or the okay from my parents, it's really nothing else that you can tell me. Like, nobody else's opinion literally matters. So once I had that tough conversation with her and I realized that she was not upset and she ultimately wanted me to do what was best for me and my mental health and my sanity, that was pretty much it. Like, that was literally the only confirmation that I needed to move forward with a different career path. And it's just that simple. Once I stopped working within the dentistry field completely, I felt a burden lifted off my shoulders, not only just from not working in that environment, but from knowing that my parents are still very supportive of me and my life decisions. My parents, they know that I'm very goal and job oriented, so they weren't worried at all. Like, they knew I was going to transition into a different career, but they just did not know what that was going to be. And I know some of you guys are going to ask, well, what was it that just made you want to scrap the idea of working within the dentistry field? You know, I don't think I have a very direct answer outside of the fact that I personally cannot see myself working a job that forces me to conform myself into something that does not make me happy. Well, what do you mean by that, Aaliyah? Okay, hold on. I'm finna answer. Just give me a minute. When working in dental offices, especially depending on where you are located, why did I do that? I don't even have my primer on. Girl, with me being here in the Midwest, you have to realize that it is a bit more conservative out here than other areas that I have lived in. With that being said, a lot of these places out here are very strict when it comes to tattoos, piercings, the way that you wear your hair. And yes, I do mean by the way you wear your hair. There are some offices that I personally have worked temp shifts for that treated me a lot differently when I would wear a wig opposed to my natural hair. I just can't see myself working for someone or in an environment where I have to conform myself to fit the aesthetic of a certain area. During those months of me working in the office, I was the most unhappiest I had ever been because I had to take a lot of my piercings out. I had to cover my tattoos, and I just want to say these are all things that I don't regret. Some people would get their tattoos and they're like, oh damn, like I regret it because now I can't get a job here. No, I don't regret them at all. I actually love them. I love wearing my big beautiful lashes. I love my piercings. I love being able to authentically express myself while doing my line of work. And in those spaces, unfortunately, it's just not really the most common. I had to conform into someone that I felt like I wasn't. And that was one of the main reasons why I felt like I was not happy. If we're going to be very transparent, the typical aesthetic in these offices is the soft girl aesthetic. Girl, that's just simply not me. And I'm not gonna conform myself to that to satisfy others, especially if I'm not happy. Like, no, I'm not gonna do that. That's one of the biggest reasons why I removed myself from that environment and started to shift my focus onto the career path that I seen for myself when I was younger. Younger me, before I had dreams and aspirations of working within the line of dentistry, cosmetology was always my thing. And my parents will tell you that. I have always been a literal freaking Bratz doll. And so younger me always see myself having my own shop, working within the line of beauty. I've literally always loved the idea of making people feel good about themselves, and that's why I converted so easily into dentistry, because whether people want to admit it or not, their smiles mean everything to them. From my personal experience, when I had braces, I feel like I've told you guys this a million times, but when I got my braces off the first go around, my confidence went from a 6 to a solid 10, and I will never forget how I felt in that moment. And I was like, if I could make other people feel good about themselves by enhancing their looks, yes, I want to work within that line of work. I think that it's such a good feeling to make people go from feeling not so confident to confident. So no, for all the girlies that have been in my comments, because so many of y'all have been asking me if I'm still working within the dentistry field, no, I'm not. Who knows? People have a change of heart, but as of right now, I'm focusing on doing what makes me happy. I feel like when I first started my channel, one thing I always preached about was living in your authentic truth and doing what is best for you. When I developed those people-pleasing habits, it was hard. It was so hard for me because a huge part of me wanted to continue to satisfy the viewer, like the audience. But eventually, something just like flips in your mind and you realize that people are gonna talk about you regardless. And the minute that I realized that, my people-pleasing tendencies went out the window. And that might sound shallow, but it is what it is, honestly. Once you go through that moment in life where you come back to self, it's really very powerful. That is exactly what I have experienced. No matter what you do in this lifetime, you are going to have people that have their opinions. That's life. But if you're gonna have someone giving their opinion, you might as well have them give your opinion on you for doing whatever the hell it is that you want to do, opposed to you literally trying to please them and them still talking about you. Girl, please. I'm trying to tell you, once you get out of that mindset, you literally feel unstoppable. And that's exactly how I started to feel once I took my power back late last year. And maybe my outlook on this will change when I move back to a bigger city. We're gonna talk about that very soon. Just hold on. We getting there because they aren't as conservative. But I just honestly cannot see it. I genuinely feel like that door of my life has closed. And while we're on the topic of moving, I'm moving, yes! This year, when my lease is up, I still have a few more months to come to my final decision as to where I'm going to be moving. But I know I'm moving. I'm indecisive on Chicago, Miami, and DC. I was pretty firm on Chicago at one point in time until I started going to Miami a lot more. And I realized that I like Miami a lot more than I thought I would. And I think that's insane coming from someone like myself, because I've always been one to say, I feel like as a Midwest girl, I need to experience all 4 seasons. I need to live somewhere where I can experience all 4 seasons. And in Miami, you're not experiencing all 4 seasons. It's pretty much hot year round. And on top of that, it rains a lot. I always feel like San Juan and Miami have so much in common, but the main thing is that they both give me that rainforesty vibe. And I personally loved San Juan. I love Puerto Rico in general. So it was bound for me to love Miami. But as far as living there, I don't know. It's kind of up in the air because I've outweighed the pros and the cons for every single area. And I feel like every single area is different. I feel like DC and Chicago have a lot more in common than either of them if you compare them to Miami. I ultimately really love Miami. I love all the culture. You have so many different people from so many different walks of life. You have Haitians, you have Puerto Ricans, you have Colombians. It's a range of so many different people there. And I love the fact that I'm always near the beach. So for me to be able to wake up and go to the beach and do yoga in the morning and then follow it up with a matcha latte or an acai bowl. Oh my gosh, I need that. Wherever I go, I told myself I want to go somewhere where there are successful young people. On top of there being successful young people, there are people within the creative space as far as YouTube goes, and even with the new career path, somewhere that you have a lot of your targeted clientele. I believe that Chicago and DC have quite a few of those things, but as far as the content creation realm goes, I think that's what puts DC at number 3 on the list, because it's not many creators within the content realm out that way, as far as I know. On top of that, I don't ever really see a lot of content creator events going on in the DC area, which is understandable if you have a lack of creators there. That's understandable for sure. We have a little bit of time to figure it out, but of course, time's ticking, okay? I gotta figure it out and figure it out soon. And I feel like wanting to be somewhere that is targeted to my line of work is completely understandable. That's like someone in the tech space. Most people in the tech space move to DC or Dallas. If you're trying to make it big in the tech space, you're probably not gonna move to Kansas City. I mean, it's possible, but
when I sat down at the drawing board earlier in 2026 to create my vision board, one thing that was very important to me was making this the year that I actually expanded on my content and what I was actually doing with my platforms, because for almost 6 years, I've had my platform and it has pretty much just been me creating content. And although it's nothing wrong with that, I want to expand and I want to branch out into different avenues, like going to brand events, being in these spaces with other content creators. I don't just want to meet up with creators and party. No, I want to actually treat this like it is a business.
You got to think about the logistics and the longevity of that. Creator events is something that I really want to get into this year. I got invited to my first ever event. It was in Miami for spring break. I did not end up going. I had to stay home for spring break because I had some things that I had to take care of. Here in Missouri, last week we had a really bad hailstorm and a bunch of extra like debris and stuff had came up this way because there was a tornado in another part of Missouri that was within very close proximity of the area that I live in. There was actually quite a bit of damage that was done to this specific area, so there was a few things that I had to take care of. It's so crazy because I was supposed to be one of the hosts for this party that was held on, I think it was Daytona. Was it Daytona Beach? Everything happens for a reason, because I'm not going to speak too much on it because I think it is currently being investigated. Days later, I ended up finding out that this specific event had got shot up, and the sheriff's department is actively looking for quite a few people that were involved in this event, because apparently they were sent cease and desist and warnings not to host this event there anyways, and they still proceeded to have it. On top of that, I got invited to a brand event, not a hosting event, but an actual brand event. And I think it's gonna be my first ever brand event next month, and it is in Miami. And I'm so excited. I've been to a few brand events, but I've only been to brand events as a +1. Part of this reason being is because, for one, I barely go outside, but for two, I do not live in an area where they just host brand events. So the fact that my team was able to help get me on board really means a lot to me. And yes, I did say team. Last year, in the month before September is August, correct? Yes, August. I signed on with a startup company. And when I tell you, they have been working overtime, and I'm so grateful for them. Mind you, I've never had a team ever. It's pretty much just always been me. I'm not gonna lie, when they first reached out to me last year, I was a little iffy because, you know, I hear a lot of horror stories about creators signing on with companies and then the companies just do them so foul. After doing some careful research, and I think just finding out that they were a startup meant so much to me, because you're just now starting up your company and you're willing to put money into my pockets. But not only that, I felt so good because earlier that year, I had it hard. This company actually reached out to me in like March of last year. Mind you, in March of last year, my mental health was absolutely shit. I was not posting that much. My analytics were not great. It just was not a great time for me, especially for people to be looking at my channel and trying to take me on as one of their clients. Wasn't a great time. So the fact that they seen potential in me, even when I was at my lowest, meant so much to me. And of course, I wanted to take a chance on them because they were willing to take a chance on me. In this industry, it's very cutthroat. So a lot of companies are really looking for who can make them the most sales. And if I'm barely posting, it makes no sense for companies to reach out to want to work with me. You see what I'm saying? The fact that they seen so much potential in me, I was willing to see potential in them despite them being a startup. That really meant so much to me. Now they're a bigger company, but I always take the time to give them their flowers when I'm speaking with my influencer consultant, because sometimes all you need is somebody to believe in you. Sometimes you literally just need that push. They literally were the start of me getting my groove back again. They are such an amazing company. They don't treat me like I am just a dollar sign to them. On top of that, I be seeing y'all comments. I remember one time a few videos ago, somebody had commented, they were like, okay, Leo, we see you getting to the big bag. You working with Athena Club, as in Athena Club that is in Target? Okay, girl, I see. I literally have to thank the startup that I am signed with, because they are the ones that are pitching me to companies to work with them. In the past year, or not even just years, the past 6 months, you guys have seen me work with brands like Turo, Uber Eats, Cash App. These are like very big brands. They don't just give brand deals to just anyone. They believed in me when I did not believe in myself. There are some people that go through depressive episodes and they just don't come back from it. I was not willing to let that be my story. Yeah, shout out to them. They're my dogs. Leona, if you're watching this, hey. I'm going to my first ever creator event. I don't know if I can tell you guys the name just yet, but we'll talk more about this in April. Girl, it's March right now. This year, I am very locked in with my content. That also is one of the main reasons why I'm moving as well, because with me being a content creator here in Kansas City, no shade, but there's really not much to do here in Kansas City. And even if there are creator events, I'm gonna be very transparent. I'm saying this in the most humble way possible. I don't like going to creator events here, and I put creator in quotations, but I don't like being the biggest fish in the pond. Most people, when they are put in spaces and they are, you know, the big dog or things of the sort, that strokes their ego. They love that. They love the attention. They love the admiration that comes from other people because they're deemed as like head honcho. Me, I don't like that. I like being in spaces where people are doing more than me because I feel like I can always learn so much from them. Events should be mutually beneficial to both parties. That's another reason why I am going to be moving. I don't like stagnancy. Is that a word? Stagnancy? I know stagnant is a word, but is stagnancy a word? Yeah, stagnancy is a word. Okay, cool. Sorry, girl, I be having to double check. Like, I don't like talking about stuff and I'm not fully educated on what I'm talking about. One of the biggest things I'm going to have to do when I move is get out of my comfort zone. That is my biggest downfall. I have been hyper independent for so many years. I've been very big on just doing everything on my own. I don't really do a lot of collabs. I just had a bad taste that was put in my mouth at one point in time. I really have to get out of that habit because there are quite a few creators that I love that live in these areas that I'm going to be moving to. Oh my gosh, and I forgot to tell you guys, early January, I told you guys that one thing I wanted to do is, oh my gosh, I'm about to get emotional speaking about all of this because I feel like everything that I have been putting on my vision board is slowly but surely coming to reality. I got invited to host on a panel in May. It's gonna be in St. Louis. I will make sure to link the link down below so that you guys can get your tickets. I will not be the only person on this panel. It will be a plethora of a few other ladies that I have done my research on. I'm so excited to be seated alongside all of them. If you're in St. Louis, pull up, come see your girl. But it's gonna be a weekend full of lots of good stuff. You don't wanna miss out, I promise. Also, I'm gonna be 90 days post-op next month. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe it. First of all, the body's healing, great. Let me show you. I have to be cautious of what I'm showing you guys because YouTube has been very strict recently. Here is the body. She's so cute. Oh my gosh. She's healing. Big mama, no kids. I do want to mention this because I see your guys' comments. A lot of you guys have been asking me about my doctor, and I promise I'm not gatekeeping my doctor from you guys at all. The only reason I have not disclosed my doctor is because I personally am not fully healed, and I told myself before I went into surgery that I wanted to make sure that I was at least 90 days post-op, no complications, satisfied with everything before I really went into depth about the whole surgery process. Now, granted, I know that it is trial and error. I understand everyone's experience is different, but I don't want to recommend someone to a doctor that I'm not fully satisfied with. Whether I had complications, whether they checked in on me or didn't check in on me. Like, I don't want to do that to people that support me. I personally just would not feel right. Really just one of the biggest reasons why I have not told you guys and given you guys my recommendation just yet, because I feel like the 90-day mark is when everything's pretty much settled and you can make your judgment right then and there. You know, here is the final look. I'm actually getting ready to go get ice cream with one of my friends. All these questions in this video were pulled directly from my Finsta. Make sure you guys check out the link in my description right down below where you can go follow. If you're really looking for me, you can always find me over there. That's pretty much where it's just raw and uncut. I hope that all of you guys had as much fun hanging out with me as I did hanging out with y'all. And I'll see all of you guys later on this week in my next video.